All right, guys. Welcome to the Leafs in 7 podcast. I'm here with Mike Gamage and Brandon Wilkin. And
Go.
we're so excited to get this started here. We're with a Leaf focus, but we're going to do all the NHL, cover news, trades, all the whole thing, the whole shebang. I've been a Leaf fan since I was really 11, watching every single game. So it's been, a long time. It's been over, almost 20 years of a lot of disappointment, a lot of tears, a lot of joy, but that's what we're here to talk about today. And so pumped to have these two guys here.
Hey, I'll go next. My name is Brandon. Same as Camille. I've been a Leafs fan for, I'd say, since I was about 12 or 13. Got into it watching, full 82 game seasons. So about 16 years. Been through the worst of it. Started around the time of the whole 2013 collapse. That was great. And a lot of collapses. Simpson. Game 7's brutal. But yeah, still a fan, still a hard fan. Although they make it quite hard to become a fan. Yeah.
So I'm Mike. I'm like these guys, but I've been rooted in hockey my whole life as a player. I coach. I do a lot of stuff in that. So I've been watching since I was really young because my family also is all about hockey. Probably around the same time where I got serious into it, where I started following everything more. So I think we're on that page there. Living the disappointment, lack of playoffs. Had a brief run in the late 90s, early 2000s where they were relevant, but it's been rough since.
Yes, before we were fans.
Well said. Yeah. Like
I watched then, so
I watched then. Like I watched 90s hockey, but I was so young and I still enjoyed it.
I'm talking 99 here,
but it's not like it is now when we're sitting watching every game.
Yeah,
sure.
Right? Like that was I was a kid. I was just like, oh, cool. But
So me and Mike got a few years on you, Brandon. But I remember I would always go over to my friends' houses when I was young and play like the Super Nintendo NHL games.
Yeah.
Like you've got Sundin on there and like things like that. And yeah, it's been a long time. So, but guys, let's get into this draft here. Seattle Kraken, new NHL team. Let's start off with some Leaf focus.
So right into the disappointment.
Yeah, so they have. So Seattle has chosen
Jared McCann.
Right.
4 days after the Leafs acquired him.
Right. And how do we feel about that, guys? How do we feel?
Now the Leafs got him for a 7th rounder and a prospect.
Yep.
Which that's
Philip
cheap.
Hollander, right?
Philip Hollander.
Yeah.
Now at the time of the pick, I was pretty ecstatic about it. Like he's a solid guy from Pittsburgh. He's gonna he can play on your 3rd line center, 4th line center, and at the time, personally, and what all the reports saying was that we're gonna lose Kerfoot. I'm not a big fan of Kerfoot, so I was kind of like, oh, cool. He'll play his 3rd line center. Kerfoot's gonna get selected by Seattle, so It works out.
Sure.
As we now know, McCann was taken by Seattle. And I'm not sure if you guys have been following hockey Twitter, but Leafs fans are pissed. But they've been pissed for the last month, so whatever.
Right.
It's a bad look to get a guy, and it's the first kind of good thing that's happened to the Leafs since we got eliminated again. And the first good thing that's been done is we acquired this guy, we fleeced the Penguins, and immediately we lose him for nothing.
So here's the thing. I think... Does it look like we fleeced the Penguins? Maybe. I think Penguins were losing him regardless. So they were like, in their minds, they're like, well, we're going to lose this guy anyways. Let's get something back from him. We don't care what. And they're familiar with the prospect they got back because I think he was drafted by them. So, we got Philip Hollander from the Kapanen trade. So, yeah. So anyways, I'm with you. I was excited to see McCann, but not for the same reasons that you had mentioned. I was looking at some of his statistics and breaking it down, not just points, but shooting percentage and things like that. And this last year with Pittsburgh, he had 32 points in 43 games. That's
solid.
Solid. And this guy, he's on an upwards trajectory. I don't know if he'll mimic that again on that same pace, but what does that look like? That looks awfully like Zach Hyman's numbers. That looks like Zach Hyman numbers, and that guy was $500,000 cheaper than Kerfoot.
Yeah.
So.
again, I'm not a Kerfoot fan. And also, like you were saying with his points totals on an 82 game season, that's a 50-point player.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good
Yeah.
for a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
absolutely.
why me and a lot of Leafs nations not really happy with losing for nothing. They like everyone knows they did expose Hall. They exposed Kerfoot. I would have rather lost Kerfoot. But then again, if you lose Kerfoot, then it's like, well, you lost Nazem Kadri for Tyson Barry, who sucked, and Kerfoot, who you lost for nothing. So that doesn't look good either. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation.
Either way, one of those 3 players is leaving. Like obviously from Dubas'
they ended up
perspective-
protecting Hull, so
They did. Right. So like in Dubas' mind, he's like, I'm gonna try and get a replacement just in case Kerfoot's gone. So it's as if for the Leafs right now, like you said earlier, Brandon, it's like they've lost a 7th prospect in an expansion draft, which is much better than losing some of the other names that have been out there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So whether you hate or love Kerfoot, you still gotta like that we lost really relatively nothing. So,
and I'm going to look at it from the other way. Like, yes, I was also excited for the McCann. I wanted to see what this guy's all about, but he's a little cheaper. But the thing with what he did was make sense because he kept the depth. We still got that centerman, the third line centerman, third liner there.
Yeah.
But also, people forget Kerfoot's, I think, only like a year older than McCann.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize that he's still very young. And I'd like to see him get a full ring. Like I said, I would like to see what McCann can do, but I'm not, devastated by losing him. Like we still got Kerfoot, we still have some depth.
Yeah,
but I do see where people are mad, losing a prospect and a pick. But like really, it's a 7th pick. Like
it's a 7th round pick.
I don't think it's losing the pick per se. It's I feel it's this year more than any other. Fans are angry.
Yeah.
Right. And the Leafs still haven't given us anything to stop being angry. This was the first kind of thing that's like, all right, that's a step in the right direction, and they lose him for nothing.
But I think they did it to like they lost him, yes, but they would have lost somebody else like Kerfoot as well to lose the depth. But I do see
makes sense.
Sure.
The move makes total sense. But the problem the Leafs are in right now is that the fans are livid with them right now, and they haven't done anything to alleviate that. You have your top guys who are making multi-million dollars did nothing. And you said, nope, we're not going to lose them. We're keeping them. We're running it back again. But you've said we're running it back again for 3 years and 4 years in a row and get embarrassed every single year. So the fans I don't care about the regular season. Do you?
To be fair, I think that's a little it's a great topic. I would say though, for specifically for what we're talking about here,
right? I went off a tangent. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I would say specifically that a lot of people, and there's some notable hockey people on Twitter as well who are saying that they want the Leafs to make a big move to win fans' hope back. Like even and I don't want to make a move for the sake of making a move, but. No. And saying that free agency has not happened yet. That's coming up, I think, this Friday, right? So,
yes.
Deals will be made. Signing's going to happen. Cap space is going to be tight. I would not. I know we have mixed feelings here on Mitch Marner, which we'll get into, but I know that exposing a player like that to the draft is
you can't do it.
Yeah, you can't do it. You're losing him for nothing. You can't do it. So,
now, on that note. Would you like to talk about the free agents that are available, or would you like to continue with Seattle?
Let's continue with Seattle first because they're a little hype. I want to know if there's one thing you guys are surprised about. I've got mine. I want to talk about Carey Price and then Mark Giordano.
I would like to talk about. Let's start with Carey Price then, because I want to talk about Carey Price too. What do you guys think? Would you have taken Carey Price?
No.
I'm also no. It'd be hard to say no, I think, because it's Price. But I honestly like where they went with the goaltender, so I don't hate it. But it's Price, that name. It's so hard, especially after the playoffs he just had.
Oh yeah, and hard. you want to make some money selling jerseys on your first year. You get Carey Price jerseys
sold.
Now, I personally, looking at the picks, they went just. It was boring. Like there was no fun 100%. Picks. Like personally. You got not to go into spoilers and other stuff, but you had Max Domi who was available. You had Tarasenko that was available. You had Carey Price that was available. Not one? Not any of them? Really? It's all young guys. I mean, like Camille said, the free agency and the draft is Friday. There's going to be a lot of moves. Vegas last year made 10 trades in that time frame last year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be moves. And Seattle's really low on the cap right now. I'm not sure if you guys have the cap friendly up right now, but
so
what are they at?
One of the and I'm with Mike on this. So let's just like break it down here. So Carey Price, outstanding talent, revival in the playoffs, especially over the last couple of years. His team hasn't had great regular season success, right? But this guy's been a stud for them in the playoffs, like a stud for them. And I like what Montreal did because the Seattle executive team literally came out and said, going forward with this draft, salary cap is the number one priority. What does Montreal do? Yeah, we're going to expose Price to protect Jake Allen, knowing that you're not going to take Price and take the gamble. They couldn't take Price and trade him away because he only waived his no movement clause specifically for the expansion draft.
Yeah.
So they're locked into that. What was it? A $10 million contract. It's a lot of money to tie up in a goaltender. I love Carey Price. I know he's one of the probably the best goalie of that generation. But he's getting older, and his contract still got a lot of term on it. So yes. I think it makes sense what they did.
It makes absolute sense. I just wanted the chaos.
Yeah, that's fair.
I want some fun.
I wanted some fun.
An explosion of fun.
That's why moving from Carey Price, if we're if we want to disregard the agent stuff, why was Max Domi not taken?
Yeah.
Columbus Blue Jackets, instead of Max Domi, they take Gavin Bayruler. Yes. Solid. He's apparently a good defenseman. He's going to be a third pairing guy, young guy. But Max Domi is a solid player. He's not old. He's not aging like Carey Price. He's on a decent contract. Why wouldn't you take Max Domi?
They're being too conservative with their cap, I think.
Very conservative with their cap.
What are they thinking right now? Like, who's our top 6 right now? I know they have the free agency and trades and all this in the draft, but come on. I thought Max Domi was a no-brainer personally, but
same.
Well, what's really interesting, right? Is like we say, oh, why didn't they take this player, next player? And it's like there's only 2 teams in this league that have had the luxury now of having this expansion draft the way it's done in this particular manner, which obviously is Vegas and now Seattle. And I was talking with Mike about this. I just cannot stomach the fact that Vegas didn't have to give up a player, even though they've been in the cup, top 4. Yeah,
they made the cup final their first year.
Yeah.
And now I'm not sure if that's in the league and that's a rule beforehand. Okay, you know what, this team's going to suffer for a while. Like we don't know how they're going to do, so the next expansion draft they're exempt from it. But I mean,
it was actually not an NHL rule. That was something Vegas put into their original contract. They negotiated that when they got in because at the time they knew someone was in the rumblings for another team. So they negotiated that into their deal, saying when there's another expansion in 2, 3, 4 years, we will not lose a player.
Right.
Not knowing they were going to be freaking Vegas.
Top tier team.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Just to give you guys a by the numbers thing. This is on Twitter by David Centrino. So for the Seattle Kraken roster, we have, in terms of experience, 6,264 NHL regular season games, which is quite a bit. 2 Stanley Cup winners, which is important. 6 countries represented, 7 former first-round draft picks. I don't know if that means first round overall. I'm pretty sure it just means first round in general. Yeah, and then the average age is 26 years.
Young team. You want to know why it's so young? Do you want to know the cap hit of the team right now?
Yeah, what's that?
The cap hit right now in an $81.5 million cap league, they're only at 52.
Wait, what? Really?
They're at 52 million in cap hit. 52.5.
Oh yeah, I see it here now. That's insane.
They got to be planning some free agents or something.
Oh yeah.
There's no reason some of the people they should have taken they didn't. So
we'll go over it later, but there's a lot of big free agents this year. A lot of them.
So at least right now I'm on Oh, I'm on Sport Track right now, and
Mhm.
yeah, I can see that. That's insane. Is that with all the? Yeah, that's with all the
That's
players.
with everybody. So according to Cap Friendly, that 52, they have a projected cap space of $28.95 million
Wow. Like
going
I
into free
understand.
agency.
Is that like an ownership thing? Is that an ownership decision? How does that work?
They just decided to go really young and low contracts. Like we were saying, there were so many big names that they could have taken, but they were a little higher in cap space, like $6, $7, $8 million. Most of their, I'm just reading off the Cap Friendly here. Their highest paid guy is Giordano at 6.7.
Yep.
Then it goes to Eberle at 5.5, and then it just drops from there.
It's
Yeah.
a risky play for sure though, because if some of these young guys don't work out, you're putting yourself in a hole.
I mean, their two goalies are very young goalies. Chris Drieger is a 3.5 mil, 27 years old. He's decent, but he doesn't really have a ton. Like he was a bona fide starter last year, and he played
He played pretty well.
23 games, but he had a 927 save percentage, but only 23 games, and that was his biggest.
I like him personally.
Year.
I like
I
the
do too.
decisions they made for sure.
Great decision. I'm just saying, you don't really have. You had big prime guys that were available, and they just decided not to, with the exception of Yanni Gord,
Right.
and Giordano, who's he's 37, but he's still Giordano.
Sure.
But you had a bunch of big names that you didn't go for. So I'm assuming they've got some trades in the slot right now with almost 30 million in cap space.
Well, that's it, right? Like we've got free agency coming up. Maybe they're thinking, okay, we've taken these picks, but why use some of our picks on guys who we know are going to be, free agents, and when we can get them and sign them around in a couple of days. Maybe they're going to go after some new players as well there through that market and spend some more of their cap. I do have concerns with, honestly, their offense and how it's divided. Like I just. Obviously, they've got Eberle, they've got Yanni, they've got a bunch of good good players. They've got McCann. Yeah, they've got good solid players, but there's not that one. I have to be careful here because I said this with Vegas when they became a team, but they don't have that one bona fide superstar. The closest thing would be, I don't know, maybe in terms of big names at least, it's Eberle, Giordano,
Yanni Gord.
Yanni
Gord's their big guy. But if you think about Vegas, they got superstar, they got Fleury.
They had Fleury, yeah.
And Fleury was still Fleury.
Yeah.
Just unfortunately for Pittsburgh, they bet on Matt Murray, and that is definitely not the right thing to do.
I don't. I mean,
you can't blame them for that decision.
So. Yeah.
No, at the time it made sense. It's just in hindsight.
Yeah, now looking at it.
Yeah, well, not even just that, but it's also that the team in general has gotten a little bit, they've gotten a little bit older, a little bit more weak. But okay, yeah. Well, so I think we can all agree that price going would have been chaotic. Is there any other moves here that surprise you guys, in particular with any players? For me, it's Mark Giordano, just because, honestly, captain of the Calgary Flames. Not that would, dissuade anyone, but I thought they'd maybe go younger with a higher caliber. But I guess maybe he was one of the only defensemen available at that skill level, and I don't know. That's my pick.
Veteran presence. Calgary, I know they've complained a lot about him. He doesn't necessarily show up in the playoffs. That's been their big thing.
Neither does their team.
I don't say their team doesn't either. So fits right in. Sounds like a Leaf already.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't spend a lot of time on Calgary Twitter or Calgary stuff. Right, I'm a Leafs fan. Yeah. But from what I've heard, it's a lot of complaints about when they do make it in. He's a no-show, like a certain couple players from our team. But we'll just go past that. The other one, a couple of small ones. If not much else to talk about other than a couple small ones, I wanted to talk about was Morgan Geekie from Carolina. He's a center.
Yep.
He's a lot of talks about him being a breakout guy. He's going to be. Like you said, Vegas had a bunch of guys that were no-name guys, and as soon as they started playing, it's oh crap, this guy's awesome.
Right.
Morgan Geekie might be one of those guys. He's a center. He's played top 6 minutes.
Yep.
Young guy. So that could be a pretty decent breakout guy there. The other one I'd like to talk about, and I mentioned this while we were talking earlier, Dallas, they took, what's his face? I can't pronounce the name.
Who is it, sorry?
It's from Dallas. It's Jamie Olekiak.
Oh, yeah.
No, is it? Alexiak. I'm an idiot. I should
It's
know
all
the
good.
name.
It's all
I can't
good.
read my handwriting. But yes, Jamie Alexiak. And he didn't have a contract, but they did sign him. So they don't have to worry about that. Big dude. You're talking about having a good guy on defense. His defensive numbers are solid. Not a very offensive defenseman. He's a stay-at-home defenseman. 6'7", 295 pounds.
295?
295. Big boy.
Guy should be playing football.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's insane. I think I'll go back. I think I'll go back and edit what I said a little bit here after looking up the Vegas Golden Knights initial draft here. They had some pretty big names. They're big names now, but they weren't then. But they just proved themselves as stars, right? We're looking at like
chance.
Exactly, absolutely. But this is the Leafs in 7. Why is it the Leafs in 7? Because one day they're going to win a game 7, and I want to talk about.
It's been a while.
I want to talk about where they're going from here. We've got free agency coming up in the next couple of days. The Leafs, as we all know, don't have a ton of cap. But there is something breaking that I want to bring up to you guys here that I just saw, a little bit before we actually started the show here, and it was a tweet. And I'm going to find it here from, I believe it was from Elliot Friedman. Let me see.
Solid source.
Let's see.
I have some stuff to talk about with the Leafs cap going forward that I'm very concerned about. So I want you to talk about what you're saying with the good news first.
Well, Mike's gonna love this. Love this. Okay. I can't wait. Hang on. I gotta see if it was Elliot or I'll find it, but it sounded like Zach Hyman. As Mike's already shaking. Not a popular opinion that Mike has on Zach Hyman with Leafs Nation, but that Zach Hyman is apparently engaging, at least in these preliminary discussions, of a possible 8-year deal with lower AAV.
So I have heard that was what they were trying to do, and he turned them down because they couldn't get the AAV high enough. They offered him an 8-year, I think it was 8x5. They offered him reportedly, and they offered that to him. And then he asked to talk to teams, and the team did give him the options to talk to teams.
Right.
So as far as I know, the last thing I heard was that there's a lot of Canadian teams really interested in him. Ottawa and Edmonton, and I believe Vancouver were all interested in Zach Hyman. Because he's great, and you'd be an idiot to lose him for nothing.
Sure. So this is what I saw. This is what I see on Sportsnet right now. This is an article from today. So Zach Hyman was actually in Edmonton visiting the Oilers, as we were talking about that discussion. There remains a possibility of a sign and trade scenario with the Leafs that could get him a max of an 8-year term. I don't know what that looks like, but that's from Chris Johnson, Sportsnet. I'm going to be full. I know how passionate Leafs Nation is about Zach Hyman. I understand how hard of a worker he is. I've watched his games. I think he's a great guy to have on your third line, especially when he gets away from some of those top shutdown defensemen. He obviously has played on the first line. He's had power play time. He's had some good success there. I'm not saying he can't do that. I've always wanted to see what would happen with a more skilled Zach Hyman on that line. I know it's very hard to do. It's like, oh my God, like you want everything given to you. But I would just imagine, I've always thought of having like a Taylor Hall on that wing or something like that to that effect. Zach, for me, if he comes back at anything over 4 for me, I think it's too much for this team. I'm sorry. Just for what he brings,
for the team itself, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
The issue I have, is like you said, you wanted a more skilled Zach Hyman.
Mhm.
You putting him on the line. They kept putting him on the first line with Matthews and Marner, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Marner, who we know is petrified of going into the corner, and Matthews, who kind of just sits it like goes into corners, but he likes to Hyman gets him and Marner the puck.
We need a shot.
We right. Like, what happens that line when you don't have the hound dog going into the corner? Marner's not going in the corner, and Matthews will sometimes go into the corner. So who you put on that line?
Well, that's defined on the dump and chase, right? Or that's defined on the dump in the corner
Dump
and
and
rough
chase
play.
is terrible, and I hate when they play it.
Sure. One thing that Matthews can do really well, like a lot of skilled players, even though they may not go in the corners as much as the grinder, is Matthews is very good with his stick.
Yes,
Like he's able to win puck battles with his stick and body position because he's a big guy. I still think there's more to Matthews to come than what he's shown.
yeah.
I think he's going to get
Matthews
better.
is phenomenal.
I think he's going to get better.
But you need someone on that line who's going to go into those corners, and we sorely lack in that.
Is there anyone in
Reese-
free agency that would address that?
Well,
That's affordable.
Yes.
I have not a logical solution, but great
let's
one.
hear
If
it.
it could happen, that'd be
What do you-
Gabe Landeskog. But that's
Gabriel
no shot happening.
Landeskog.
That would be amazing. Oh, Mike's a huge fan. Mike,
Oh,
Now-
Gabe.
tell us about Gabriel, Mike.
I don't even need to, again, guys. Well, I apparently do because I think he's a very underrated player still for what he brings to a team because people don't talk about him enough. But I'm a little biased because I'm a big Kitchener Ranger fan where he came up and so
Would you
I know
like
that's
to
not
know
realistic, but
Would you like to know what he turned down from Colorado?
Yes. Yeah.
They offered him reportedly 7.5 over 8, and he said no.
No way.
He wants to make money.
The
The problem is on his team,
yeah.
the talent. He's the third best forward on that team. He's the third best player on that team. Sorry, Nathan McKinnon makes less than that. You're not making more than Nathan McKinnon.
He brings more to the table than McKinnon, I think. But obviously, McKinnon, I think, is an overall better hockey player, like scoring wise and stuff. But
he wants to make heads over Nathan McKinnon. It's just not happening.
Or, like, so I saw an article a few days ago, where Gabriel Landeskog had said, I didn't want to play a contract year. I wanted to be signed a year ago for this team.
Yeah, it could be
right.
Something like that.
So I'm almost wondering if there's and again, not to read too much into it, but when things like that, you kind of don't get your way, or like things aren't going well. You're playing, that full year out, waiting for a contract. You're like, why didn't they sign me a year ago? And they offer me this amount. There could be maybe there's nothing, but maybe there's something more to it. I would love for him to be that would be
not going to happen, but
no, it's not. We would have to offer him. He's going to get paid on the free agency. He's going to get 9.5.
This is why. Sorry, going back quickly to the Kraken.
Yeah,
he was available. And I know it's a big risk because there's been rumblings of contract talk stuff. Yeah. But honestly, if I'm the GM, I take a shot. I try to talk them like, hey, look at Vegas. Look how good they were. We can pay you. We can maybe be competitive right away. Take a
100%,
shot.
100%. Like, I don't know if he has a no movement clause, Brandon. If you know anything about that, he's a free agent. He's a free agent now.
Yeah,
before, I'm not sure if he had a no movement clause. I'm just curious, like, if how those discussions work, right? Like, do executives reach out and be like, this guy's really not interested in coming to this team? Like, I don't know how that works at all, but man, what a great pick that would have been. He's 28 years old. This guy has, not only does he bring, it's not just points, leadership,
physicality,
great two-way player. There's nothing you can't say anything bad about Gabriel Landeskog. You'd want him on your team, no matter where you are. You want him on your team.
Absolutely, phenomenal player.
512 points in 687 career games. He's a plus player. He does everything. He hits is great, man. Like, we can dream. But
we may not get Landeskog, but would you like to hear some of the other top guys that the Leafs may want to look into getting?
Well, how about we do this? How about we address what the Leafs roster is today, right now, before free agency? What do we have? Where are the holes?
A disappointment.
That is not what I'm going for. I want some positivity. I want some roster slots. So right now,
Okay.
If I'm gonna pull up the Leaf roster here.
So before, let's say generally before we get into we'll go through each player, but
Mhm.
let's in general, what do you think? Personally, high octane offense. Now, currently, good defense, like solid defense,
Mhm.
and Jack Campbell on the back end, solid starter. We have no backup goaltending. Will have to
Mhm.
be addressed. And my issue with the team forward wise is the forwards themselves are not great defensively. And if Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander aren't scoring, you're not getting any goals.
So
And we saw that in the playoffs. Matthews and Marner were invisible, and our high flying offense wasn't there, especially against someone like Carey Price.
so I don't. I mean, I'd have to look specifically at goals for. Like in past years, I've always thought of the Leafs as a high octane offense.
No.
This year, I thought it was more balanced than it
It
ever
was
has been.
they played a lot more like they would get the lead and they would actually defend rather
Yeah.
than get beaten. Like just they use their biggest issue up until this year, which they made a massive improvement on, was that they would get a lead and then forget how to play hockey. It's like they left during the second period and let the Marlies play the third, and it happened way too often.
Sure. Yeah. But more importantly, it's like the four players aside that we're talking about, the core four, we talk about Tavares, Marner, Matthews, Nylander. That's a staple, at least for now, that they're staying.
Yes.
In terms of gaps that we have with the little cap space that we have, we are really, really weak at left wing.
Very,
We have
very.
If we lose Hyman, we have no left wing for the top line position, and we have no left wing for the second line position either. We're missing two left wingers.
Our only players that can play left are Nylander. He's called a right wing, left wing. He plays right wing. Mikheyev plays left. He's mostly plays right, and Simmons, which he's on the fourth line.
And Mikheyev played really well in the third line for what his role is, right? Like
Third
what
line.
he brings a good checking, good for what he does. But like how do you address the two left wings?
They're gonna have to take a shot with some guys like Nick Robertson and these younger guys.
Which they will bring them up.
Give them some time.
Does Nick Robertson play left?
I think so.
I think he does. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I like Nick Robertson myself.
I want to definitely want to see him some more. If I don't think he's some saving grace yet, but I think he's got potential.
No, but he can. You throw him in the third line, he'll do some stuff. I remember
even eventually
give him last year.
give him some power play time, maybe some second line action. See if what he can do with those guys. But McCann would have been nice. He could play left wing,
right? And that's where my bitterness is that we had a guy who, in my opinion, especially on the top line, had a real good shot at mimicking Hyman-like production numbers, being cheap, young, and also he's good defensively. He has great defensive analytics. People rave about him defensively. And he has a great shot. I mean, it's just there's so many potential things there, but I don't want to be talking about it or I'll get upset. But Nick Robertson, the last time I saw him play was against Columbus in the play-in round, and I saw a kid who
liked to shoot.
Loved to shoot, but also was not NHL ready. He got bullied. I mean, he
was 18. So
he was 18.
I mean, are you describing the entire Leafs roster?
No. This was a special case. This kid was thrown around like a rag doll.
I think that's kind of to be expected. I mean, he was the new guy coming in. It was his first time in the NHL.
Thrown in.
They targeted him. Right, they targeted him. I think in a normal regular season, you get him some more games. It's not going to be that way. And I've heard that he's actually been putting on a lot of muscle too.
It's important. Yeah. No, for sure.
He's been adding some size. It's been a year. It's going to be like 2 years.
Okay.
Something I want to ask you guys.
Yeah.
Morgan Reilly is up next year. Now, this whole thing with Zach Hyman, we're losing a good guy for nothing. Do we lose Morgan Reilly next year for nothing, or do we make a trade?
I've talked with Mike about this in length. I've enjoyed Morgan Reilly on the Leafs. I've really enjoyed him on the Leafs. I know he's had ups and downs, but every player has ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
I've still enjoyed him a lot. I think he's the teammates love him a lot. He's just a good guy.
But
I do not want to see him leaving next year in free agency for nothing.
my thoughts
And
exactly.
and if I'm Kyle Dubas or if I'm that executive team and I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, like, oh, I got to focus on next season. I've got to know where he stands because he's going to command a lot of money. He's making a bargain right now.
Yes, he makes
I think
right now.
He makes $5 million right now. He's going to ask for 8 or 9. He's going to ask for So with that being said, I would love to see a preemptive, move, whether that's like a salary dump or a trade for a pick, and we can use that for a free agent, something that gets him out and another player in, because you lose Morgan Reilly for nothing, and you've got, you're all of a sudden a lot weaker at the back end.
Yeah,
It's a bad omen.
And
we've got.
You think about it. If you lose Reilly for nothing, say they don't do anything again, and say worst case scenario, we roll it back, and next year, personally, I think there's a chance we don't make the playoffs in this division that we're going to be in next year. Based on our team, based on them rolling back what they did, and us having just the way the roster set up and the way we can't really do much with our cap space. We're against Tampa and Boston again next year. And like every year before, we were always third or a wild card spot. So there's a chance we don't even make it. Technically last year, we shouldn't have made the playoffs if it wasn't for the panini going around and we had the bubble. We wouldn't have made the playoffs. There's a solid chance we don't make it. Not a solid chance, but there's a 30% chance we don't make it next year, in my personal opinion. But say we make it in, we get thrown out first round again. So you do that, you've run it back. Now Morgan Reilly's up.
Sure.
Cap's still flat. Do you what does Kyle Dubas do? I think Kyle Dubas gets fired if we lose in the first round again next year, and he doesn't do anything this year. But what do the Leafs do if Morgan Reilly's up and you don't make that move? Because you can't make a move for picks where we are in the development of the team, because picks are later, and later is Matthews only has 2 years after next year. So that pick isn't going to be ready.
Yeah. So again, there's all these what if scenarios, and like we can go ahead in time and things like that. I think what's most important is obviously like the here and now. I think I agree with taking early action on Morgan Reilly. Yes. I'd love to know with the agent right now what those conversations have looked like. Are there any or are there not? Have you engaged with them? Because you should try and get a clear idea. I think there's a real good I'll say this. If the Maple Leafs are not in a playoff spot come, say, January or February,
then you have to trade Morgan Reilly at the trade.
I think Morgan Reilly's gone for sure.
Yes.
With that being said, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, so I was just gonna say it's really a tough spot for Dubas because, again, like
put himself there.
Personally, I think they good shot to make playoffs. I think we're a deep enough team where we could.
Yep.
But we're just we're at a bad point where we're good enough to get there, but we've shown we can't compete yet, and we aren't changing enough.
No.
But again, if you keep Morgan Reilly because you think you can make the run and you fail, you're done.
It's
you trade him too early, and things go to crap. People are going to shit on you either way. So it's a rough spot, but that's being a GM though. That's not your job. I
mean, he put them in this position. You don't put that much money in your top forwards because we can't afford the depth, and we kind of all knew that going in. And Kyle Dubas has kind of I can't think of the word right now. He's got a thing going on where he loves his own guys. Like the amount of guys he signed from the Sioux Greyhounds, where he used to be, he gives those guys good money. Like Dermott shouldn't have gotten the contract he got. Dermott's.
I don't think it's a bad contract.
I don't think so either.
It's not a terrible but it's not a terrible contract. But from what he's playing, and he was scratched most of last year. He didn't play in the playoffs. I think he played one game. You're paying a guy $1.5 million to sit on the bench.
Keep in mind that wasn't. Well, I mean,
he didn't. Well,
so what I would say to that is that 1.5 million for extra insurance on the back end, in
That's
my
fine.
opinion, is
Yeah,
pretty feasible.
I'm not
Like-
saying it's I'm just pointing out he likes to pay his guys. That's just
Sure.
kind of what I'm getting. He loves to pay his guys, and that's kind of what we saw with the top end. Like all those contracts are really, really, really high. I mean, especially with Marner. At the time, Panarin was a free agent. He makes less than Marner. And Panarin,
Right.
I would rather have Panarin on my team over Marner any day of the week. And I used to love Marner. I got a Marner jersey. Love the guy. Not the last 2 years. But
I'll say this.
Mm.
I love Marner in the regular season.
Love Marner in the regular
There's no
season.
stakes. And
But
he's flying
that's-
around like a kid. And he's just...
But that's the problem. And I don't know about you guys, but we've had enough time to see Marner can't play playoff hockey. As
Sure.
a top guy making $11 million, he could not play playoff hockey. He could, if he was your second line guy, then doesn't have the focus on. But playoff hockey is different, and the way he plays, he doesn't get any aggression in him. He's still scared to go in the corners. He's avoiding hits all the time. He can't play playoff hockey. He was completely invisible this year. The last thing I remember Marner doing in the playoffs was blocking that shot with his face a couple years ago, I think, against Washington.
And how would you feel? Because I just want to go back to this free agency thing, but how would you feel if I said to you that since the Leafs have made the playoffs again in, I believe it was 2016, the year Austin Matthews was drafted, Marner has led the team in playoff points?
That's surprising.
I know,
and
that's sad because
it's really. But how many of those have been assists?
Sure, no, absolutely,
because there's such a thing as secondary, and I know Marner's an assist god, especially in the regular season. And you can get points, and getting points is great. He didn't get them last year, but if you there's the numbers, and then if you look at him playing, he is not playing the same as he did in the regular season because he can't. Matthews was shut down. Like, he was just shut down somehow by Philip Deneau. But Philip Deneau apparently was a great shutdown guy this playoffs. But Matthews was shut down.
In the regular season too, to be honest.
He was. But he was a solid shutdown guy. But Matthews was shut down. Marner just can't, and he's done it every year. He can't play his style in the playoffs. He can't. And it's very apparent that
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like Camille said, he is solid in the regular season, but the second the playoffs hit, it's a different game. They're not calling the same penalty. They're calling no penalties, and it's much more aggressive. And for Marner, who's avoiding hits all the time, and he would rather get off the puck than get hit, it doesn't. You can't have him as your top guy making $11 million.
Sure.
Yeah. And this brings to the point for me, my biggest thing with the Leafs in the playoffs is they do not adapt.
No,
they
not
keep
at
trying
all.
the same game plan, and they
can't enter the zone.
How they don't nope, let's stick it out. Let's see it through. Familiar story. Let's see this through. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
And they don't they just don't adapt. It's mind boggling.
Yeah, they don't adapt normally, and then the biggest thing that they don't adapt is the power play.
Yes,
the power play on the Leafs this year. Holy crap, man!
So, this guy was a penalty kill expert as a career. And when they got hired as the power play coach, I was like, huh, that's interesting. You think he'd be hired for the PK role, but they had him. I'm not saying he can't do the power play role, but that was beginning of the season, amazing. After about 2 months, gone
because they can't adapt.
Mike's completely right about that.
I think this also comes down on Keith as well, because
it does.
Yes, Malhotra's the power play coach, but you're the head coach. You step in and say, this isn't working. Let's shake it up here.
Now he's starting to get the same issues as Babcock had, because when we got rid of Babcock, what was everyone's biggest complaint about him? He was stubborn, and that is what Keith is doing. He's stubborn.
So I'm gonna throw a bit of optimism here. I have a few things to say, just because I've been listening to a bit of negativity.
Yeah, please give me something.
So all right, Kyle Dubas I'm going to start there. I'm going to start with the general manager. He made some big signing mistakes that I think he will never admit this to the media or to anyone else.
This is the optimism part. This is the positive part.
He's getting there.
He would always he would want to go back and fix those if he could. You know, he would want to.
Every
he was
GM
the beginning. So the very first time this happened was not with Mitch Marner. It was actually with William Nylander when he held out. And, you know, this is Kyle's first year as the general manager of the National Hockey League. Obviously, he's experienced. He had an assistant role with the Marlies. They've won a championship, things like that. But it's not to the same pedigree. One thing Kyle Dubas has done really, really well, and that I think he does as good as any GM in the league, is trades. I think his trades have been, for the most part, really, really solid. We got Jack Campbell, we got Jake Muzzin. I understand the Kadri deal is what people wanted, but there's some, even that McCann deal there at the end, like how his trades, to me, I'm never left wondering why with him. It hasn't happened yet. I'm not sure if you guys feel the same way.
For the most part, I agree.
Yeah, I would agree.
His trades have always been very solid.
So with that being said, I do not think, and it could be too late for the Leafs, I don't know. But my optimism is I do not think Kyle Dubas will ever make those mistakes again as a general manager. I don't think he'll do it again. I don't think it'll happen again. Player waits out. He's not going to fold again. It may be too late with the Leafs. We may be stuck with those 4 contracts. I don't know, but that's my first part of optimism there. I do agree, though, however, with what Brandon said earlier, is that if the Leafs are out round 1 again, next playoffs, I think it's not just Dubas. I think it might be the whole
coaching staff.
I think the whole sweep. You got to look at the president level, like how much are the Tannenbaums and Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment going to put up with Brendan Shanahan and his plan? Right? It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. But anyways, pivoting away from that, I wanted to also address after talking about Kyle Dubas a little bit, was obviously Keefe. I think this is the year. Like, either way, if you're a Leafs fan and you're listening to this or you're not listening to this, I don't care. This is the year where it's kind of a do or die thing. So you can be really salty that they don't make the playoffs or they lose first round again. I can tell you with almost certainty, I'm going to put this out there. I will pay, $100 to any charity that this team will not come back the same way if they're out again. And I firmly believe that.
Can I say I was sick of hearing that last year?
Yep, that's fine. I think this year's different. I think this year's failure is different.
I heard that last year. Last year, we didn't even make the playoffs.
That's why it's different. So last year, I didn't think we had a business being in the playoffs. I didn't think we had a business being in the play-in round. We were there. This year,
played bad. And
you can talk about the North Division, and you know what? Montreal had a great playoffs. Yes. Kudos to them. We were 1 goal away, and we had 3 chances to close it out.
Yes, embarrassing.
That's why I think it will be different. But you're saying, I heard this last year. That's why I think it will be different going forward. I don't think they'll let that happen again. If they I don't think, and I say they, I don't mean management, Kyle Dubas. I mean literally specifically higher executive order. I don't see it happening again. Even if they're getting money in for tickets, things like that.
I'm very glad you said higher management, not the players, because my issues, a lot of the problems that they had, less so this year actually, because they kind of fixed it a bit. They had a lot of issues where they just stopped. Like they'd have games where they just didn't show up at all. Mm-hmm. Like their biggest thing, I don't know if you guys remember, almost every single year other than this year, they had a consistent issue with not showing up in the first period. Almost, it was like every other game they would just get blown out in the first period and then have to make like this amazing comeback.
This year?
Not this year.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
This year had a couple. I mean, I have an issue with them. What was it?
That's going to happen to any team, right?
No, but I have an issue. Like they played the Canucks after they were off for a month with COVID and then got spanked by the Canucks somehow. Mm-hmm. Half the team was still sick. Mm-hmm. That's an issue.
Or look at the playoffs, like against Montreal, the one game when they were like gone, like they were down like 3-0, and then the last 10 minutes they said, "Hey, you should play hockey," and then look at that, they sent it to overtime.
That's the most infuriating thing. They can do it. It's just sometimes they don't give a shit.
Yep.
And it's very apparent when you watch them play. It's like, no, I've seen you I've seen you dominate, no problem. Why don't you just do that most of the time? You can do it. You're being paid to do it. You have the skill to do it, but you don't.
Right.
And that's the most infuriating part is watching this team that's making crazy amounts of money not care. And that's the biggest thing with the Leafs, and that's why I was a very big on we need to get rid of one of the top four this year because we said it last year and we didn't do it last year, and we said it this year and we didn't do it this year, and then next year we're going to say it again because if Dubas stays, they're going to say it again because he loves his guys, and this team, this city is like scared of change. And I don't know if you guys watched it, but when we were doing the end of season interviews, someone asked Matthews about Marner being traded, and he pretty much laughed in their face.
So me and Mike actually discussed that, and I think we can both agree. I don't think he laughed. Like, in my opinion, that was actually more of an ignorant question by the reporter because he didn't laugh in their face. What they said was, you think there's a good possibility of maybe the core four not working out, and
He said,
maybe
"Good luck with that."
Yeah, he said good luck with that. So the reason he's saying that, you got to keep in mind these guys are friends, these guys are teammates. What do you expect him to say? Like,
Yeah, he's not going to throw his teammate under the bus.
He's not going to throw his
anything.
teammate under the bus,
No.
right? Like,
But
that's the thing.
That's what I'm not saying he should have said, "Yeah, we should trade Marner," but he knows how pissed off the fan base is at him specifically and at Marner specifically. You don't say, "Oh yeah, good luck trading him." You say, "No, like I believe in him." Blah blah blah. Like you do the hockey speak. That pissed me off, and I know it pissed off a lot of Leafs fans. And like, it's like you don't think you just seem so ballsy and like, yeah, he's not going to trade my guy because then I'm not gonna play. I'm just gonna do this and this. Like he just seemed like a spoiled brat to me.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm very jaded about this year.
I'm gonna
That
disagree.
didn't help.
I think we're looking
fine.
a little bit too much into it.
Yeah, I disagree too. I think with that too.
That's fine. That's fair.
But like, I again, I had those same concerns with Mike, but I initially brought up that I think he's just like, I understand the PR talk, right? Like the PR training, say the right thing. At the same time, these guys are emotional. They're human. They can make mistakes. They can slip up. It's just there's so many factors that go into it that
Toronto media monster.
Yeah, Toronto media monster. That's another thing. Okay, guys, we've got about 9 minutes left. So I want to kind of break down again. We've got free agency coming up in 2 days. We're gonna be back at it here.
Who do we have?
I've actually got a chart listed up here, and I want to ring this off to you guys really quick.
Okay.
So we have going into the next season currently. We have 10 forwards, but one of the forwards of the 10 is actually Adam Brooks, who may be a regular NHLer now. We don't know, but I just want to kind of point that out to you guys that we have 10 forwards. Obviously, the two most notable gaps are the two left wing positions because we are losing Thornton, Nick Foligno, Reilly Nash, Alex Galchenyuk, maybe, and Zach Hyman, maybe. So let's pretend, just for argument's sake, Galchenyuk and Hyman aren't coming back, okay? And the rest of them I don't think are coming back. So those are the two that would be a maybe. If we pull up a free agent list here,
Keep in mind, we also need a backup goaltender.
I understand. Yep, backup goaltender as well. Are there any players that you would try and really look for those three positions that come to mind on this list? Not sure if you guys have it open. I can send it to you guys here, but
no. There's two that I'm kind of looking at.
Mm-hmm. Keep
for
in
left
mind,
wing, actually.
Be cap space conscious.
Yes. Zach Parise at 37 just got bought out by Minnesota. So he's at the tail end of his career. He's not going to be making a lot of money, but he's still playing like a solid player. He wasn't definitely not worth what he was making. Like he was like $8 or $9 million a year. But if you get him on he's 37, you can put him on your second line for like $2 million, $3 million. He still puts up good numbers. At least he was.
That kind of reminds me of, obviously not at the same cost, but the Patrick Marleau situation at 37. I know,
but you give him
making 6.
You do 1 year. Do 1 year.
1 year,
not 3 year, and then give up a first.
Yeah,
we do 1 year.
Yeah, that's fair.
The other Brandon Saad from Colorado.
That's what I was looking at. Yeah,
because Colorado is trying to sign Landeskog. So if they do Landeskog, they don't have the money to sign Saad as well. And
What was his cap hit? What was his cap hit? His last cap hit?
last year?
Offhand? It's okay if you don't.
I'm pulling it up. Last year, he was making 6.5. Oh,
Yeah,
he had $6 million on the cap.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, if you get him for the same amount, like kind of maybe convince him, hey man, flat cap, do a bridge deal with us, do like 2 years at 6, and then maybe we'll give you something bigger when the cap starts going up.
Well, that would definitely address a first line need or a second line need, either or. That'd be amazing. But I think Brandon Saad would be a great pick. I also think, maybe a cheaper option. This is kind of a weird one. Would be like a Thomas
Tatar.
Thomas Tatar type deal. Cheaper. Sorry. But yeah, those are the two I'd look at. Mike, what do you want for this offseason from the Leafs? Like, what do you think is a move they should make? It doesn't have to be for a player specific, but do you think they should do anything big going forward?
Well, like it's hard to do something too big with the cap hell we're in, but I want to see some maybe some depth, but it's we're a limited budget. Yep. Like I would love to see Foligno come back and play a full year.
Same.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing that happen.
Yep.
But obviously backup goaltender, and it's hard to say because you usually think, we can just ride Campbell out, but he's got injury-ish past, so it's risky to go with like a meh goalie. You gotta have somebody who can be kind of a 1B. At first I was against it. I'm like, no, let's just go all in on Campbell. Who cares who the backup is? But after thinking more about it, it's like you gotta invest a little bit in it because just the injury pass, so you don't want to get screwed and be down a goaltender and be running with like a Hutchinson. Nobody wants to see that in there.
Yep.
Oh God, please.
I'm not saying you need to go to a tandem, but you do need a solid
someone who's
backup,
not bad. Yeah,
right. Like we all remember Garrett Sparks as a backup.
Okay. Here you go, Brandon and Mike. Frederick Anderson, is he back next year as a backup? Yes or no?
No shot.
No.
Yeah,
because he's in talks with the Leafs. He wants $5 million. No.
What about like a Yaroslav Halak?
That'd be great.
The Rask is up.
Yeah,
we drafted him. So he was a draft pick.
It's a full circle.
Is Raycroft available? Or?
Yeah. That's right.
What about James Reimer?
He actually is, I believe.
I think he's a UFA.
He is a UFA. I would actually be completely fine with that.
Is he? If he's a backup, I'm okay with it.
He's a backup, yeah. If he's a backup, absolutely.
But ideally, like a Halak, I think for me would be one of my top choices for a backup goalie.
Yeah,
a reasonable one that's not going to cost too much.
What do you guys think about? What's his name?
Keep in mind, guys. 2 minutes here. We got to wrap up.
Okay, last thing then. What do you guys think about Leafs making a trade for Darcy Kemper from Arizona?
I like him.
Solid goalie.
I like him a lot.
But I'm out.
But I think he's almost, and I say this very gently, that he's almost too good for the current situation we're in, just because we'd have to give up something kind of, a roster piece, I would imagine, or another pick. But he's great. He's a great option.
I would be okay giving up picks because we're supposed to be in go for it mode. So are picks really necessary? Best. I would rather have a solid goalie.
Sure. Well, I'm actually pretty excited now for free agency. This is great, guys.
If you're looking at the chart, there's a lot of people available.
Yeah. So we're gonna be back at this. So correct me if I'm wrong. So free agency starts at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so. Great. So we're gonna meet again Friday evening, and we're gonna discuss free agency, what the Leafs did, anything that was big happening in the NHL. This was awesome. Can't wait to do more of these guys. This is pretty fun. An hour actually flew by.
Yeah.
And if we're here next year, and they're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna make the playoffs.
My goal is to
Leafs
have
in 7.
do Leafs in 7.
Leafs in 7.
My goal is by the end of this off season, I want to be confident enough to wear my jersey again. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I looked at my closet and I said, no, I still haven't forgiven them. No, I want to though. I want them to make some good moves. I want them to get some free agents. I want to make them some good signings, and I want to come on Friday evening and wear my number 34, wear my number 16, just be proud about them. I'm not quite there yet, but I want to get there.
I'll say this. Because if the Leafs win around, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to care about the regular season. These podcasts are going to help a lot.
Yes.
If Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews can turn it around in the playoffs and they win around, we probably have a lot more optimism than we've had here today.
Yes.
So
I mean, I'm pretty sure we can all agree we want them to succeed.
Yeah, we do.
Like, we want them to play well. We want.
Mike doesn't want Marner though.
That's just my bias, though. So
yeah,
go Rangers.
Ooh, wrong podcast.
All right, guys. Yeah. Until next time, we'll upload our next content on Friday.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Get
All right,
cracking,
guys,
Dubas.
Get Kraken for the Kraken.
Oh, that's cheesy.
See you later.